Hi, ArcFieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, June the 24th. Intense heat will continue today in the Mid-Atlantic region, probably, in fact, reaching a peak this afternoon with numerous 100-degree readings on the table in that D.C. to Baltimore to Philadelphia to New York City, even Boston corridor, that I-95 corridor. Expect to see numerous 100-degree readings this afternoon. Again, it looks like the peak of this current heat wave will come today. There is significant relief in sight, actually in the form of a backdoor cool front, which will impact New England first. Boston, for example, will see a significant drop in temperatures by the time we get to Thursday. New York City as well on Thursday. And by the time we get to the end of the work week in Philly Friday, much different temperatures expected on Friday compared to today or tomorrow in Philadelphia. And even all the way down to D.C., much relief is in sight by the time we get to Friday afternoon. Now, it does turn warmer over the weekend once again, but not nearly this warm as we experienced yesterday or today or tomorrow. Again, very warm weekend coming, but now looking ahead, next week actually looks much more reasonable with much closer to normal temperatures, especially, let's say, from Tuesday on as we transition to the month of July. I posted this table yesterday at the Arcfield Weather website of record high temperatures for Monday and Tuesday. And let's go over some of the preliminary readings that I have from yesterday. First of all, Philadelphia did in fact break a record at Philadelphia International Airport, 99 degrees, so beat the record that was set just a year ago of 98 degrees. And by the way, a decent chance, probably better than even chance, of reaching 100 degrees today, officially at PHL, Philadelphia's official weather recording station. Has not hit 100 degrees there since July of 2012, so that will be, if in fact it happens, the highest temperature in over a decade. Baltimore Washington Airport yesterday hit 97 degrees, just short of the record. National Airport reached 98 degrees, again just short of the record. Dulles, 96 degrees. Newark, New Jersey broke a record, 101 degrees. So they, in fact, did reach that century mark and surpassed it by a degree. LaGuardia Airport, 94, and Central Park tied a record, a long-standing record at 96 degrees. Again, here are the records for today, and I do expect numerous 100-degree readings along that I-95 corridor. Well, we've talked at length about the significance of the upper-level ridge that shifted from the western U.S. into the eastern U.S. during the latter part of the weekend into the early part of the weekend. That strong high-pressure ridge is kind of centered today right over the Mid-Atlantic region. And one of the reasons I believe today may actually be the peak of this heat spell here in that D.C. to New York City corridor, even all the way up to Boston. Now, when I see the peak, I mean it may be 1, 2, maybe 3 degrees higher temperatures this afternoon compared to yesterday. So intense heat on both days, but perhaps a little bit hotter today in much of the Mid-Atlantic region. Now, this ridge tends to break down over the next couple of days, tends to shift to the south. And that's why, again, I think the peak of the heat may be today. A little bit less intense heat tomorrow, and then significantly less as we get into Thursday and Friday. And by the way, there will also be an increase in the chance of showers and thunderstorms both tomorrow afternoon and again on Thursday in much of the Mid-Atlantic region. Let's push through the 500 millibar forecast maps. These are height anomaly forecast maps using last night's 0Z run of the GFS. All of these maps, by the way, from tropicaltidbits.com. And here we go into the midweek right here, and you can see already the bright orange kind of gets neutered somewhat as that ridge begins to weaken, begins to break down, and also tends to shift to the south a little bit. And we'll have a backdoor cool front right here starting off in New England that will push to the south and west. Now, by that I mean the low-level winds will shift to an ocean flow, to an east or northeast direction by the time we get to later in the week. First in Boston, then New York City, then Philadelphia, and that will bring a significant change in temperatures by later in the week. Let's keep moving forward here. And here we go into the day on Thursday. Kind of a weakening ridge here, still centered over the northeastern part of the nation. Friday, and then it sits around for the weekend. And again, we have a chance of a little bit of a warm up again over the upcoming weekend. It may actually cool down to the lowest levels on Friday in places like D.C. and Philadelphia, then start to rebound again. But I do not expect the same kind of heat this weekend as we are experiencing today or yesterday or tomorrow in the Mid-Atlantic region. And then big time changes by the time we get to next week. Here we are on Monday, and then finally on Tuesday. This is a week from today, very first day of the month of July. And look at this trough starting to form here over the Great Lakes. And indeed, that ridge is completely gone in a week's time from the northeastern states, and you have this upper level trough setting up here over the northeastern states. This is a week from this Thursday all the way out to Thursday, July the 3rd. We'll go out one more day here, the 4th of July. Nice upper level trough situated over the southeastern Canada, northeastern U.S. In other words, the bottom line here, next week looks much more reasonable in the temperature department for the Mid-Atlantic region. At or below normal temperatures likely from Tuesday on next week. And again, Tuesday begins the month of July. Well, we'll see that change in temperatures for next week right here using the 850 millibar temperature anomaly forecast maps from the 0Z run of the GFS. This is for today. Much above normal temperatures, record-breaking territory, many locations here. Many spots will see record highs this afternoon. Again, I think this is the peak of the heat wave today. 100 degrees on the table, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, Newark for sure, New York City, Boston. This very well could see record-breaking highs in some areas, the first 100-degree reading in over a decade. Philadelphia, for example, at the international airport certainly has a better than even chance of reaching 100 degrees today. It came 1 degree short yesterday, but if that happens, it would be the first time since 2012, July of 2012. Now, let's keep moving forward here, and we'll notice the big change in temperatures here. A little bit less intense heat tomorrow, and certainly even less on Thursday and Friday. And look at this. This is indicative of that backdoor cool front right here. Let me kind of draw the movement of this backdoor cool front. You see below normal temperatures right here by the time we get to Thursday morning. And that is that ocean flow starting to set up here with low-level winds shifting to an east or northeastern direction, first over Maine, then over New Hampshire and Vermont and Boston. By Thursday, much relief is in sight. This continues to move to the south and west. Philadelphia in store for probably a cool day on Friday. High temperatures way down in the 70s, potentially even holding in the 60s on Friday. If indeed this backdoor cool front moves all the way through from the northeast to the southwest to the south of the Mason-Dixon line, which I do believe will happen here. Even D.C. gets in on some of the relief by the time we get to Friday afternoon. This is Thursday. We'll go out here into the day on Friday. And again, the biggest change to cooler than normal will be up across New England. And then we start to tend to warm up again over the upcoming weekend. Very warm weekend coming, and an unsettled weather pattern really starts Wednesday afternoon with the returning chance of showers and thunderstorms in the Mid-Atlantic region on Wednesday afternoon. And that threat of rain will continue on Thursday. And I do believe some of the thunderstorms that form tomorrow afternoon and on Thursday can reach strong to severe levels in the Mid-Atlantic region. So we'll keep an eye on that. Here we go into the day on Sunday. And then finally, by Monday, a very warm day possible on Monday to end the month of June. But then big time changes here Here we go, a week from today, and this is where a cold front will be pushing to the south and east. Cooler than normal air first shows up over the central states, the western part of the Great Lakes, and it continues to shift to the south and east, so that by the time we get to the middle of next week, cooler than normal temperatures across much of the eastern half of the nation. A big time change coming next week compared to this week. It may hold off until maybe Tuesday, first day of July for the Mid-Atlantic region, but indeed, overall temperatures for next week much, much more reasonable compared to this week. Well, let's wrap up with the surface forecast maps, again using the 0Z run of the GFS. Probably rain-free throughout the Mid-Atlantic region today. That changes on Wednesday afternoon as that upper-level ridge starts to break down here. Now, here we are into the evening hours, and then we talked about this significant player on the field here, this high-pressure area over southeastern Canada at this time by tomorrow morning, just south of Hudson Bay. This is Hudson Bay in Canada right here. Anytime you see high pressure to the north, that tends to form a nice northeasterly flow of air down the New England coastline, and you get your backdoor cool fronts, especially during the months of April and May. But even into the summer season, that can change temperatures significantly in places like Boston, where today may be 100 degrees, Thursday maybe 70 degrees with that east to northeast flow of air developing. This is the forecast map for tomorrow. We'll go out a little bit farther in time. And here we are on Wednesday afternoon. And with that approaching backdoor cool front and the breaking down of the upper level ridge, expect to see some scattered afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday. And I do believe there's a chance that some of these storms in the I-95 corridor region, for example, could reach strong to severe levels. We'll have to watch for that. And that threat not only remains on Thursday, but actually increases for Thursday. Here we go into the morning hours on Thursday, and that high moves south and east, centered over southeastern Canada by early Thursday morning. Noticeably cooler in places like Boston and New York City on Thursday compared to today or tomorrow. And there are some showers around here with that backdoor cool front. And again, there could be some afternoon thunderstorms that form here. Any of these, I do believe, can become strong to severe, especially down across the DC metro region. You don't go from 100-degree heat to potentially in the 70s without some big boomers forming here, and that very well could be the case. Kind of an unsettled weather pattern sets up for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the Mid-Atlantic region. And really that begins on Wednesday afternoon, that unsettled weather pattern, with a daily chance of afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms. Here we go into the morning hours on Friday. And again, a cool down in Philadelphia. Could actually turn out to be a cool day on Friday, well below normal. If in fact that east to northeast flow of air does develop, and I think decent chance it will develop, better than even chance here. Then we get back into the upcoming weekend warm up here. That high pressure that moves from the Hudson Bay region across southeastern Canada ends up to the east here by the time we get to the early part of the upcoming weekend, and that return flow of air out of the southwest will pump some more heat and humidity back into the Mid-Atlantic region. Will we get as hot as this current heat wave? I don't think so. It'll be a very warm and humid weekend potentially with that afternoon and evening threat of showers and thunderstorms. But the cool down on Friday may be a brief break in the action here. Again, we get very warm and humid over the upcoming weekend, not this intense as we're experiencing today or tomorrow. Here we go. By the time we get to Sunday and Monday, very well could be a very warm and humid day as well in the Mid-Atlantic region. Now, at this time, you start to see that frontal system here. This is a week from yesterday, next Monday, the 30th of June, and this frontal system and its associated cool air moving south and east. This is on a Monday. Let's go out to Tuesday, and here we go on Monday night, and then finally by Tuesday, and we have that frontal system right in this area by Tuesday, the beginning of the month of July, a week from today, next Tuesday. Nice, cooler than normal air on its heels here, moving into the Middle Atlantic region, perhaps holding off till Tuesday, certainly by Wednesday of next week. We have a reasonable air mass, a much more seasonable air mass with closer to normal temperatures, maybe even below normal temperatures, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week. Next Friday being the holiday, July 4th. Here we go into Tuesday afternoon, and finally by Wednesday morning, that frontal system moves to the coastline here, and a decent temperature pattern here for much of the eastern half of the nation for the bulk of next week. Much more reasonable temperatures next week in the eastern U.S. compared to this week. Again, today may turn out to be the peak of the heat. D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, Newark, New York City, Boston, many areas may see 100-degree readings this afternoon. And then the pattern changes with the breakdown of that upper level ridge, unsettled weather pattern from Wednesday afternoon on through the upcoming weekend, with an increasing chance of afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms. That's it for now. For ArcFieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.